I shot 107 rolls of film in this past year, and here are 7 things I learned about standing out as a photographer. I did a video last year called 99 rolls of film. This year, I looked through all my emails and all my receipts and I shot 107 rolls. And I learned a lot of things specifically on how to stand out and how to kind of differentiate yourself as a photographer, how to kind of solidify my style more and more. The first thing is that I stopped telling clients that we shoot film. It is definitely a big thing to do in the wedding photography industry. If you do shoot film, people proclaim it from the mountaintops. And I guess one of the big thing is that it is more of a luxury product. It is expensive to use it. I will definitely be the first one to tell you how beautiful it is and how much it can add to your photography. But I've actually kind of pulled back from telling people like, we shoot film, we shoot film, we shoot film. And one of the big reasons for this is that like no one cares. Like, okay, unless, I guess if you're watching this video, you care, which is important. But what I found is sometimes the people that I told, it would even just kind of confuse them a little bit more, or they wouldn't exactly know what that means by shooting film. Like, what does that mean? And it's not always possible to like completely educate people, especially clients, on what shooting film means. And even for yourself as an artist, it can be easy to kind of, I don't know, use things as a crutch. And I think I found myself using film a little bit as a crutch in terms of, I don't know, instead of worrying about whether I'm shooting film or not shooting film, the important thing is good photos. I personally believe that like using film is an incredible way to get the best photos. And so I took that same philosophy and started adding that to my business, how I interacted with clients, and how I interacted with personal work. So instead of being like so tied up in the idea or the identity of like, I shoot film, instead focusing on just taking the best photos and using whatever tool necessary to do that.
You are right in front of me with the answer.
The second thing that I learned, especially as I was looking through all of these film photos for this video, was that I wish I did more personal work, that I pushed myself more outside of like my job and my company, that I pushed myself to do creative things that might fail, that might turn out really well, to purposely put myself in scenarios for personal work to really stretch myself as a photographer. Because all of the areas that I did do that this year, like shooting film kind of indoors in a studio setting, taking my camera to Banff and taking photos literally on the ski slopes, and just being a little bit more experimental in how I shoot. As I look back at those photos, those are some of my favorite, and they're some of the things that I'm most excited about. What I want to do for this next year of shooting film is experiment more and try more of my ideas and kind of, I don't know, force myself to get out there and be more experimental in how I shoot with film. I think of every time I do a personal project, I'm adding it to my resume. And so you can pad your own resume by just doing work that you're assigning for yourself. You don't have to wait for the projects. You don't have to wait for the clients. You can give yourself projects and give yourself kind of clients to work on to become a better photographer by just giving yourself an assignment. Your resume is gonna get bigger and longer, and you're gonna become more and more of an expert and a better artist along the way. The third thing I learned was the importance of looking back and reviewing. I like to call this a post-mortem. I don't know if that's a little dark or anything, but all it is you finish a project, you finish with the client, whether it's right away. Sometimes I like waiting a couple of months, looking through the things that I've shot and really kind of inspecting it. Like, what did I do well? Like, what did I do poorly? And then what did I learn from taking this photo or doing this project? You have so many lessons that you can learn that are sitting on your computer right now. And all you have to do is look at the things that you've already done. Look at the photos you've already taken and be critical. Sit down, be your worst critic and be like, okay, Luke, how could you do this better? How could you take this photo better? Were you being lazy here? And walking through your photos, being critical and saying, how can I, like, what did I do well? Like, pat yourself on the back, say, wow, those are some good photos. And then ask yourself, like, where could you improve? How could I stand out even more? Number 4 is find what feels right. I firmly believe that photography is an art, and if you want to be a photographer that stands out, you need to be an artist. You can't just be the shutter clicker, and we found that. Like, look at the AI websites that you can, generate a photo. More and more, it's gonna be important to have a voice as a photographer, to have this artistic eye that creates ideas that people just aren't normally thinking about. And how to do that is to kind of follow your own voice, your own ideas, your own personality. If you really dig into that's the uniqueness of you starts moving into your photography, and your photography starts becoming just as unique as you are. So do what feels right. If a camera doesn't feel right to you, then change the camera. Get something that feels right, that feels like it's in a line with who you are and what you want to create. That's one of my answers when someone asks me, like, how do you know whether you want to shoot an image in digital or you want to shoot it on film? And a lot of the time, it just feels right. Like, I know what the feeling that I want, and I'm gonna follow that. And so in this moment, it's like, this moment calls for film. So I need to shoot it on film, and I need to shoot it on my contacts. And that's what style is, following what feels right to you in the moment. Number 5 is be sharp. Don't get lazy. So I actually was really surprised when this happened to me. But it was midway through the summer, midway through our wedding season, and I had shot this roll of film, and actually it was my wife, Allie, that was like, Luke, are you getting kind of lazy on that? And I was like, what? And I looked through the photos later, and thankfully this wasn't a client shoot, it was a personal shoot, and I looked through the photos, and I realized, like, I was getting lazy. And like I said before, I was kind of using film as a crutch and being like, oh, all the film photos are just like gonna be beautiful. Like, I don't have to like try too hard. It's just like the film will take the photo. And because I'm relatively new to shooting film, I've only added it in the last few years. I don't know, the honeymoon period is starting to wear off a little bit. And I'm realizing, I know this sounds like maybe very obvious to you, but for me, I really realized that like you can be lazy with film. And I know it sounds crazy, you can take bad film photos. Part of that initial push when you're shooting film, you buy a roll of film for the first time and you really have this like realization of how much money it costs to shoot this roll of film. But the more and more that you shoot it, the more and more that wears off, and you just like load another roll of film and you load another roll of film and you shoot it. And that kind of like specialness starts to wear off a little bit, and it's easy to be lazy and it's easy to be like, oh, the film will take the photo. But it won't. Film won't just magically give you a good photo. It's you. It's your eye, it's your vision that will create the good photo. The sixth thing that I learned after shooting 107 rolls of film is that I need to learn more. Most 90% of what I shot was Portra 400 and black and white. I shot Ilford 3200, but I realized that there is so much film out there. There's so much types of development, ways of shooting that I just don't know about. And even how to develop on 35 versus how to develop on 120 film and how those look different. I realized the more that I shot, out, the more that I didn't know. And so I think if you want to stand out as a photographer, you have to be an expert. You have to know everything. And I definitely feel that way in digital photography, but in film photography, I'm much more newer to this side and I don't know as much. And so to stand out, to really have a good grasp and to create images that really stand out and are really amazing to people, you have to learn. So that's what I'm planning on doing this next year, is really just like pouring myself into learning as much as I possibly can about film photography. And so that my next 107 rolls, my next 150, 200 rolls is gonna be even better than the ones that I did last year. The last thing that I learned after shooting these 107 rolls is that, wait for it, you can take photos anytime. I know this sounds very lame, but let me tell you a story. For one of the videos that I did, it was a review of a half-frame Kodak Ektar camera. And I don't remember why I had photos left on it, but I think I had taken a bunch of photos and then I didn't realize that I had 15 images left, and I needed to send it to the lab so that I could get the video done on time. And I didn't really have another reason to shoot these rolls of film. I didn't have an event coming up, or I don't know. I had nothing interesting going on to shoot this film on. And Allie was like, why don't you just go shoot it right now? And I was just the idea of that it kind of blew my mind. What do you mean just shoot it right now? It's not a special moment. You mean I can just go out to the street and just take these photos? It seemed very strange to me because I'm so used to photography is just a thing that happens in very special moments, because literally we're wedding photographers. So it's always a moment that's happening. And something that I learned through that specific time, and I've tried to implement it more and more, is that it doesn't have to be this perfect moment for you to take a photo. It doesn't have to be a perfect moment for you to shoot a roll of film or to try a project that you're thinking about, because I'm a perfectionist and I'm often thinking what's the best perfect way possible that I can do this? And sometimes the most perfect time is right now. And the most perfect way is right now.
You were right in front of me with the